Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to Notes 5.6 Part 1. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through a couple review special case equations and then how to construct equations from word problems and solve them. You saw some of these on your homework last night. I just want to review how to do them. Basically, you can take a look and say, okay, I see division, and because since I see division, I do the inverse of that, and therefore I multiply. And so just imagine this as if I were to cover up this 7 here and I just had x over 3 equals 2. What would you do on that? You just multiply both sides by 3. And what we're going to do is basically this, and we're going to get a one-step equation. So this cancels out on this side for the fact that it's going to eventually equal 1. And over here we get 6. So I drop down everything that was up top. 7 plus x is equal to 6. And now I just have a one-step equation. 7 plus what number is equal to 6? So I add -7 to both sides. Those cancel out because they're 0. So x is equal to 6 plus -7 is a different sign. Subtract to keep the sign that we have more. So really we're going to do 7 minus 6, which is 1, but we have more negatives, so that's why it's -1 as your answer. So to check this, we go ahead and write out the problem exactly as it was, and then we plug in. So 7, I'll do that in a different color so you guys can see. So 7 plus, instead of x, I'm going to put my answer, which was -1, is equal to over 3 is equal to 2. And 7 plus -1 is 6 over 3 is equal to 2. And I'm asking myself, is 6 divided by 3 indeed 2? Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and that does equal 2. I know I have my right answer. I'll do one more for you. This time I have the answer on the left-hand side. I know sometimes that's a little bit tricky for you guys, but really it's the same exact thing. I'm going to multiply exactly by what my denominator is so I can get to cancel out because it's 1. So I multiply both sides by -2. -2 times 12, be careful with your integer rules here. This is a different signs negative, so I get -24 is equal to -8 plus n. This is a one-step equation, so therefore I'm going to see my -8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides because I want that 0 in order to isolate the variable. I get n is equal to, sorry I'm running out of space here, but -24 plus 8, that's a different sign. Subtract, keep the sign that we have more of. So 24 minus 8 is 16, but since I have more negatives, it's -16. So right there. Again, in checking, I go ahead and write out the problem. Oops, I've already messed this up, my fault. I go ahead and write out the problem exactly as it was. That's kind of step 1, and then step 2, if I were to rewrite it in a different color for you, instead of putting down the variable, I plug in what my answer was. So in that case, my answer was -16. So I have 12 is equal to, what was my top? What's -8 plus -16? Well, that's -24 over -2. And then I'm just asking myself the question, is -24 divided by -2 12? And you might be thinking, oh no, it's -12. Well, remember, same signs, positive, so I get 12. 12 is equal to 12, therefore my answer is correct. I'd pause this video right now and try and do 2 and 4 on your own. The last part to part 1 is going ahead and telling us what the 3 steps are in solving, constructing and solving two-step equations for word problems. So step 1 is ask yourself, what is the variable? So we're going to, the entire time I have this question down here, what is x? You're actually physically going to write down and tell me what does x stand for. Step 2 is going to be to write an equation around what you think x is. And then step 3 is going to be to solve that. So very straightforward. I will do one quick problem to end off part 1 and number 5, and you will do number 6, and then we'll go to part 2 video. So if you had $20 to spend on 8 pens, after buying them you only had $4 left. How much did each pen cost? So x is the cost of 1 pen, we'll say. Now if I wanted to write an equation, I could write something like this. I had $20, and when I spend it on 8 pens, minus 8 pens, but I don't know how much those cost, I'm left with that it cost me, that I have $4 left. So now if I go ahead and try and solve this two-step equation, I will go ahead and add negative 20 to both sides. I'll get not 8x, but negative 8x. Drop down. 4 plus negative 20, different sign, subtract more. So 20 minus 4 is 16, but I add more negatives, so negative 16. And then I divide by negative 8 on both sides, and 1 pen cost me $2 B. I could check that. I could go back into the problem and say, okay, if I bought 8 pens, 8 times 2 is 16. I had $20, 20 minus 16 up, and I end up with 4. And that's how I know I have the right answer. That's the end of part 1. Try and pause this and do number 6.